some TV stars to tragedy as well. And so, um, with the holiday season comes joy and tragedy a lot of times. And so, as we mentioned on last week, we had a guest to talk about some of the traumas that we face, all of us face through grief and those kinds of things, and ways to cope with that. Dr. Glenn has written a book, From Trauma to Triumph, and I plan to have her back on the show. We had some technical difficulties. I think we lost our signal there for just a moment, also. But hopefully, we can get her back on the show to even expound even more about dealing with grief. This time of year, a lot of people have sadness and those types of things and the loss of their loved ones, even though the holiday is supposed to bring lots of joy. Also, today I'm going to talk about some stances the NAACP has taken on some various issues. I'm also going to talk about a meeting or reception I had the opportunity to attend this past Friday, um, where the celebrating the legacy, 50-year legacy commemoration of the Fantasy Five. And so, for those of you who may not know who the Fantasy Five are, it's certainly not the Lotto, but the Fantasy Five refers to some county commissioners that kind of paved the way here in Macon. One of them was Julius Vinson, Willie C. Hill, Lois Brooks, um, Vernon Colbert, and the late Reverend Eddie D. Smith. And so these should be some familiar names to those of you who have been around Macon for quite some time. And so had an opportunity to fellowship with them. Some of the speakers included our former mayor, C. Jack Ellis. And so it was a great time to reminisce about some past accomplishments as well as some of the things that's going to take us forth in the future. And so I would advise all of the Middle Georgians to make certain you're doing your part to make certain that Macon moves forward and that these legacies are not in vain. Also, as I mentioned, want to talk about some of the stances that the NAACP is taking, particularly as it relates to these what they call super computer centers or data centers that's been spread across Middle Georgia. There's been much opposition with these particular centers, particularly what they do and what type of harms they pose to the environment. And so there have been some stances that the NAACP has taken in regards to that. And I want to just read some of the info in regards to why they've taken the stances that they have in regards to this, because this is something that's um, particularly phasing our Black communities, and so we have to kind of take heed as to why these things are important, why these things are moving in our communities as opposed to other areas. It says the NAACP is putting the tech industry on alert and issuing a call to action to communities to demand more accountability from companies building new data centers. We're starting with the world's richest man, Elon Musk. Um, Here's what happened. Elon Musk quickly threw up a massive data center in Boxtown, Tennessee, um, a Black community. Um, Musk bypassed all permits and environmental reviews. Now Musk is looking to build one in Mississippi. And so it seems that some of the safeguards that have been put in place as far as permits and environmental reviews have been overlooked in this particular case. And it causes a lot of question as to, truly what the effects are, what type of studies have been done to bring these data centers into our communities. We know that up in Forsyth, Monroe County has been one area that's been looked upon to put data centers, and they've had numerous residents to show up at their town hall meetings opposing those particular data centers to be built. Also down in Twiggs County, um, there's been land that's been identified there as well to put these data centers, and they've had opposition as well there in Twiggs County. And so these data centers also in Jones County have had similar meetings to put data centers. So it's an up and coming thing to see these data centers trying to set up in a lot of our communities, and you need to be aware of some of the things that the negative things that it can cause for not only your environment but our climate. Here it says that the climate crisis intensifies across the world. Communities of color face increasing severe disasters when floods destroy homes and fires burn communities. Black communities are the most vulnerable to climate emergencies. And yet, billion dollar companies continue pushing to set up super polluting data centers in Black neighborhoods. The impact of fossil fuel use, like dirty energy data centers, is already overburdened communities with which only makes matters worse. These companies think they're getting away with it because they assume the people won't have the power to fight back, and so we have to fight back. And a lot of times, we have to show up to these town hall meetings that are discussing things like data centers being put in our communities because it affects all of us. And we'd love to hear from the community. Give us a call here at the station at 478-250-1444. Once again, that number is 478-250-1444. We'd like to hear your input. Do you think data centers, the use of data center outweighs the safety precautions that our community needs to take? But it's people like the NAACP that are on the front lines of making things right for our people and for our communities, because these are the communities in which. Okay, I think we lost connection again. I want to go back to the discussion about the Fantasy Five. There's a book that I'm going to show you. This is the book here, Fantasy Five, and the author, of course, is Harvey, Harold Michael Harvey. He's the editor of this book. You can find this book in the Tubman Museum. You can also obtain the book through Cascade Publishing, and it's something to know the deep history behind some of the people that's a part of this. This particular book was written by Mr. Harvey, and he dedicated the book to Ozzie Bell McKay and to his grandmother, um, Pula Harvey. And so it's some very interesting reads here. Matter of fact, I want to look at some of the honorees that are talked about in this book. Um, some of them very familiar. Some of them, of course, um, we may not be so familiar with. One of them being, of course, the late Eddie D. Smith, which most of us in Macon who have lived here for quite some time um, pretty much are aware of him. It says Reverend Eddie D. Smith Sr. opposed uh, opposed Masons of the Ward 3 Post 3 seat. Smith, the 39-year-old Macedonian Missionary Baptist Church pastor, grew up in the Tybee area and graduated from Ballard Hudson High School and Fort Valley State College University. He received the call to pastor Macedonia Baptist Church in 1972. 3 years later, Reverend Smith moved the Macedonia worship facility from Hazel Street to a new facility on Anthony Road and tossed his hat into the political realm. He was a political newcomer with a growing and dynamic ministry. Young, uh, upwardly mobile blacks began to flock to Macedonia Black Baptist Church under the visionary community outreach program Reverend Smith introduced to Macedonia. Reverend Smith built a state-of-the-art church on the Anthony Road property. His church uh, purchased across the street from the Maud C. Pye Elementary School. The new church sanctuary attracted many young Black professionals who moved into the community of Macon, Georgia. Smith pledged to urge the industry to move downtown to bring life to the central city. Um, he said so, he said he would support an active street paving and recreation expansion program and an improved bus system bid. And so these were some of the uh, accomplishments that Reverend Smith put in place during his tenure. Um, Another one of the Fantasy Five representatives was Vernon Colbert. On March 31st, 1975, Vernon Colbert uh, released to the conservative rag, the Macon News, a media advisory, introducing his run to city council. Um, Ward Ward 4, Post 2, the first paragraph noted that Colbert was the first Black person in the history of the city named by Macon Council to serve on its Civic Service Board. I see Patrick Davis has keyed in. He says, through the 1975 election, in the focal point of the book, Harvey book does more than just cover the election, because understanding the context and the history of the city is important to understanding the barriers broken. I said the book stretches as far back as 1823, when the city was officially incorporated, as well as the role of its Black population during the Reconstruction era, when Black residents were able to hold office for a short time before being forced out through intimidation, laws, and violence, a common theme found in many cities across the nation during the Reconstruction era. And so it was a whole different time than it is now. And so a lot of things that we have accomplished now, we accomplished off the backs of these ladies and gentlemen that found it not robbery to get out and to oppose the system and to put their hats, in the race to run for these various offices. Another one of the Fantasy Five individuals was, of course, Mr. Willie Hill. Um, on July 26, 1975, civil rights activist and president of the current Citizens League, Herbert Denard, announced he would seek a council post. A member of the New Pleasant Grove Baptist Church and a member of the Railway Carmen of the U.S. and Canada, Denard favored industrial expansion, a street paving program, and bringing more Black people into city jobs. Uh, Denard, a longtime resident of East Macon, did not think the 40% Black population in the East Macon ward could elect a Black candidate. Therefore, Denard secured housing in the Vining Circle neighborhood and planned to seek the Ward 4 post 3 opening. When Willie C. Hill qualified for the seat, Denard withdrew his intention to seek a seat on the city council. In July 9th of 1975, 39-year-old school librarian Dolores Brooks announced that she intended to seek Ward 1 Post 2 seat on the Macon City Council. The Ward 1 post was located primarily in East Macon. The literature drew the lines favorable for a white candidate. However, Brooks, who cut her political teeth working under the mentorship of Black political operative Aaron Cook, announced she would seek that particular post. And so also Ms. Dolores Brooks was um, a big contributor as well in making sure that politics was represented properly. It says here that it was a big challenge because 60% of the voters in this district were white Maconites. Undoubted, Brooks secured the service of Aaron Cook, who earned a degree in vocational education from the Frame Tuskegee Institute to manage her campaign. In addition to being politically savvy, Cook headed up the vocational education department for the Bibb County Board of Education. In 1972, Cook managed the successful Bibb County Board of Education campaign for his wife, Dolores Cook, a Spelman College alumna. Dolores Cook was the first Black person of any sex and the first woman of any race elected to public office in Bibb County since the election of Henry McNeil Turner during Reconstruction. And so this is a lot of viable information that Mr. Harvey has put together for Maconites to understand the politics and some of the hurdles that many of the um, people running for office had to deal with. And so these are some of the things, some of the accomplishments in the book. And I also want to read a couple more of the candidates that were also involved because it just shows us that, it was a struggle to get where many of them have gotten. It says on December 9th, 1975, Judge J. Taylor Phillips, State Court of Bibb County, swore in the 15 new persons council, 5 of whom were Black Maconites of African descent. This swearing in ceremony marked the first time in over 152 years, history of Macon, Georgia, that a Black man or woman had sat down and deliberated city business with white lawmakers in a in a in an official capacity, 9 of whom were white males and 1 a white woman. Never in the annals of Macon, Georgia history was this ever supposed to occur. However, the winds of change were sweeping throughout the southern United States. As prophesied by Bob Dylan, the times were changing, and 3/4 into a brave new country, Macon, Georgia, my God was coming and kicking and screaming into the 20th century. By the end of 1975, the Macon Black community boasted of 9 Black elected officials, including Dr. D.T. Walton and Dolores Cook on the Bibb County School Board, and David Lucas and Billy Randall in the state legislature. This newfound political power prompted the Macon branch of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, to honor Macon's Black elected officials at the Community Church of God on Sunday afternoon, December 14th, 1975. The local NAACP president, Robert Sampson, told the Black elected officials in attendance, and we know adequate representation will be given to us by you. Bill Randall, who told Black voters in the last election not to vote for the Reverend Julie C. Hope, the Black mayoral candidate, said to the honorees, it's needless to remind you that we have come a long way from the closed voting primaries, but we still have a long way to go. Indeed, Bill Randall set Black aspirations to serve the city as a Black mayor back 20 years. It was not until 1995 that C. Jack Ellis, a Black Army veteran, ran a successful campaign for mayor of Macon. During the first council meeting, Black council members Willie C. Hill and Reverend Eddie D. Smith Sr. made fresh history when they were each elected to chair a council committee. Hill received the public poverty committee, while Hill did not have any prior experience in government. The former high school government teacher had served as a trustee board member at Bethel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. Under the Methodist church structure, the trustee board is responsible for caring for church property. In 1975, Bethel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church had a parsonage for the main church sanctuary, an auxiliary building, and a 6-unit apartment complex. Hill had over a decade of experience managing the building and grounds of his church. In his role as a church trustee, Hill had required valuable skills that were beneficial to the city's government. And so, of course, he used these particular skills, which they had no way of actually practicing their skills other than the experience that they had gotten, from the church and also through different civic organizations they may have belonged to in the city. And so we see that we have come a long way as far as city government goes, and the representation from our people of color have made major strides in putting things in place as far as representing your communities here in Macon, Georgia. And it doesn't seem like it was long ago when these particular acts were taking place. And so we've come a long way, but yet we have a long way to go. Particularly, we have to engage in the affairs of our city government to make sure and make certain that our interests are looked upon and expanded. And so it's part of our duty as citizens and as members of the NAACP to keep our hands on the pulse of the city, where it's going, how it's going, and which directions are taking us there. And so you as in our listening audience, you have the responsibility as also to support the organizations that support you. As you know, the NAACP, we rely on contributions from our community and our partners, and we certainly hope that more of you will participate in that effort for us, that we can continue to work for the people. Christmas is on its way. We're only 10 days away, and we have a lot of things that are occurring in our community. We always talk about safety, and I hope that most of you, while you're out there shopping, that you are being vigilant, watching your surroundings and those kinds of things, because there are a lot of things happening. I had just pulled up an article in Atlanta, Georgia, which is right up the street, where these porch pirates are, targeting people that are, shopping online, and their packages are coming on their doorsteps. They're pirates who are waiting to come and take those things that you worked hard to acquire. And they even give a time when most of the activity takes place. It seems that a lot of them do these types of crimes around noon when people are at work. And of course, they take advantage of that. Patrick Davis says John F. Kennedy, a Republican, has resigned his state Senate 18 seat, District 18 seat, in an effort to focus on his 2026 bid for lieutenant governor. And a special election has been called by the Secretary of State. State Senate 18 is a 6-county district that includes all of Monroe, Crawford, Peach, and Upson counties, along with portions of Houston, mostly Warner Robins, along with the western part of Bibb County, mostly areas west of Interstate 475, including Lizella. One Democrat has declared thus far Lamario Brown from Fort Valley, who had previously served on Fort Valley City Council for 6 years. Early voting begins on December 29th, and the special election is on January 20th. And so a lot at stake. and a lot to be gained. And so our votes are going to be necessary. With the NAACP, we register a lot of people, but many times when we register, the people don't go out and vote, even though they're registered. So the call this year is a call to action, to take action. Uh, we gotta do some things for ourselves. We can't just wait for other folks to do it for us. And so, um, please, please, ladies and gentlemen, get out and vote, um, because 2026 is going to be a very crucial year. We know that Obamacare expansion was not approved, and so there are going to be a lot of premiums that are really going to increase, in 2026. And so I know it's going to hurt a lot of people, and so we got to look out for each other, and that shows you the importance of voting for people that have your interest at hand and at heart. And so when we get people that don't do that, there are some consequences that we pay as citizens. And so these are crucial elections. The midterms are coming up, and so we're hoping people will take heed and do the right thing and show up to vote. And if you haven't registered to vote, please make sure you do so um, before it's too late. Make sure when you see places that are set up for voters registration that you go ahead, if you're not already registered, and do so and become a part of the solution and not the problem. Patrick Davis says another U.S. federal government shutdown is possible at the end of January 2026. The temporary funding for most agencies is set to expire on January 30th, 2026. And so we know and understand what it was like for this last government shutdown, and it lasted quite some time, a lot more than any other shutdown that we've experienced. And so, with a possibility of another shutdown, we really got to make certain that we pay attention and that we call our representatives, our congressmen, and let them know, that we don't need another government shutdown. Well, we've run out of time, but hopefully you'll stay safe over the holidays. Pay close attention to your surroundings. And until next week, we'll be right here at WDDO. Take care.
You have been listening to the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwenette Westbrook and Mr. Dumas. Come join us next Monday at 4 o'clock p.m. on 980 WDDO.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views